Matt, I do have a question for you about some of the maybe unsung heroes of this team or guys that fly under the radar a little bit. It's fun for me to learn about rosters because what happens is everybody knows the big time players. Everybody understands who Aaron Rodgers is and Sauce Gardner and Quentin Williams and all the big time guys, right? But there's always other players that make a difference in a game and make a difference in a season. So give me a player or two that Jets fans are excited about that maybe the rest of the league hasn't quite heard of yet or doesn't know how good this player is. I want to take a second to shout out today's sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. Promo code LSS. Link is in the description. Right now, Underdog Fantasy has a promotion where if you use my promo code, you will get 50% deposit match up to $1,000 and one free pick. An example of a free pick was week 1, Travis Kelce, 1 yard gained. If you added him to any of your slips, you were an automatic winner on that pick. And you can play daily fantasy, weekly fantasy, yearly fantasy, all best ball style. Choose over unders, whatever it is that tickles your fancy. And the best part is they give you a chance to flex your picks. That means if you do a 3 pick and you're not that confident, you can hit on 2 and you come out a winner. Shout out to Underdog for always being a great sponsor. And remember, supporting our sponsors is supporting the channel. Let's get back to the videos.
Yeah, so I'll give you one on each side of the ball here on the offense and defense. So offensively, you just mentioned, like, obviously Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall, they get a lot of the recognition, and deservedly so, with especially the young guys with how well they performed early in their first 2 years. But someone who I think is going to have a bigger year than what we've seen the last couple for the Jets is the tight end, Tyler Conklin. I don't think he's someone that gets talked about a lot, but if you look at his numbers, I think he's actually produced, okay, considering the situation that he's dealt with. He's been top half of the league in both receptions and receiving yards for tight ends the last 2 years, and that's dealing with Zach Wilson, Trevor Siemian, Mike White, Joe Flacco. The list goes on and on and on. And I think we've seen a lot in Aaron Rodgers' career that he does like to feature the tight end. And we saw a year, not all that long ago, Robert Tonyan had 10 receiving touchdowns. I don't know if it gets that high for Tyler Conklin, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if he ends up top 3 in receptions for the Jets this year behind just Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall. Those two will be featured the most, but I think Conklin's going to be a sneaky safety blanket offensively there. And then defensively, I'll give you a name as well, someone who doesn't get maybe as much credit, but he was just in the news yesterday, Michael Carter II. He got a new contract from the New York Jets, made the highest paid slot corner in the sport. When anyone mentions the Jets cornerback room, it seems like it's, DJ Reed and Sauce Gardner, and they mentioned the cornerback duo, and those two guys, they're great. They're one of the best corner duos in the game, but I think it's unfair to leave out Michael Carter because I view him as one of the 3 best slot corners in the sport, if not after last year, maybe the best slot corner in the NFL. So I think he has to be included in that conversation. And when you just get, some of the bigger names and the linebackers in there as well, he kind of ends up being a forgotten guy. But, slot corner in today's league is such an important and valuable position. And I think he deserves the recognition too.
Well, and he just got a big time payday. I think he got a payday that made him the top paid slot corner in the league. So sounds like they agree with you. He'll be there for quite some time, and Sauce isn't going to be far behind him. We saw that Patrick Surtain got paid as well. I'm sure Sauce will be up for a big contract next year. I'll give you 2 names as well, one on the offense, one on the defense. You got Jordan Mason, a.k.a. JP Mason. You may hear him called that. Running back, backup running back. Now, Elijah Mitchell has been a staple of this team for a few years now, and he had been the backup, but he's done for the year. We're sad that he's gone, but at the same time, JP Mason is a guy that we've been wanting to get on the field more and more and more over the last couple of years. He only has 83 career carries, but he averages 5.6 yards per carry. And I'm telling you, he looks and runs just like Marshawn Lynch. He's bow-legged, he's big, he's physical, he's got the dreads hanging out of the back of the helmet. He's very light on his feet, just a bulldozer. And Christian McCaffrey coming off of an injury. Also, Kyle Shanahan said that he wants to make a conscious effort for Christian McCaffrey to not touch the ball near as much this year because he wants to save him and make sure he stays healthy. JP Mason, I think, can be a big factor not only in this game, but this season as well. And the reason he wasn't on the field a lot the last couple of years is because he wasn't a great blocker and he didn't understand his assignments as far as a receiver. He worked a ton on both of those this offseason. They absolutely showed in the preseason and during training camp. I think he can be a difference maker in this game and in the season. And then the other one on defense, look, a lot of great players on this defense, but I think a player that might be going under the radar a little bit for the San Francisco 49ers, Jair Brown, second-year safety. He filled in late for Talanoa Hufanga. He's going to be starting this year. He is an absolute stud. He can play single high. He can play in the box. Really instinctual player, good hitter, very, very good player. I think he will have an impact on this game and in this season as well. So those are my two under the radar San Francisco 49ers.
I love it. Yeah, I think the running back is an interesting call out, especially because you mentioned McCaffrey coming off the injury. And I'm curious how much he's utilized in this game. And sounds like he complements the skill set that McCaffrey has. Similar, just to make the comparison on the Jet side, they just drafted Braylon Allen this year out of Wisconsin, who's a little bit of a bigger back and a bruising force. So going from that guy who's, has a little bit more top end speed and is a receiving back to that bruiser, I think is, something that maybe the Jets are copycatting from the 49ers play.
Absolutely. Dave says, Jets whole team is off, BB. What are you talking about? And then Brother Bob comes in and says, oh, Lord, he's praising a mid tight end. Kittle will smash. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, mid is a little harsh. Look, I'm not saying that he's George Kittle. George Kittle's and Travis Kelce been the two best tight ends in a while, but I'm just saying he's not as bad as some may think. That's all.
Well, I also want to say, listen, if you're going to get some things from the fan base here, it's your platform too. Feel free to rebuttal any of these. Absolutely. Dave says, what else is he going to praise? Sauce, A-Rod. They got a good team, man. They got a lot of good players. I think my biggest concern, if I was a Jets fan, is I think the Jets are relying on a lot of aging players that are coming off of injury. And maybe it works out really well, but it's that would be a little worrisome for me if I was a Jets fan, relying on some of the age players that are coming off those injuries. But we'll see how it plays out.
That's a fair concern. The only thing, like last year in particular, especially on the offensive line, they didn't really have the depth after that. Like they were relying on Dwayne Brown to play left tackle.
Yes.
He was horrible, and then he gets hurt. Tyron Smith, who you bring in, went on the field, we know is very, very good, but he misses time every year. They used the first round pick in Olu fashion. So I think they're better prepared this year than they were a year ago. If some of those guys, as you mentioned, who are older do get banged up at some point.